Imagine surviving 4 years in a Siberian prison camp. 4 years of hard labor and temperatures that freeze your breath. 4 years sleeping on wooden planks surrounded by murderers and thieves. 4 years wondering if you'll ever write again or if your literary career died the moment they arrested you. Welcome to Uncle's Dream, the most unexpected work in Dostoevsky's entire catalog. Written in 1859, immediately after his release from the prison camp and military service in Siberia, this novella is Dostoevsky's attempt to re-enter the literary world. He was desperately poor, needed money, and wrote this story quickly, in his own words, with dove-like mildness. He later admitted he rushed it and wasn't particularly proud of it. But here's the thing. Even Dostoevsky writing a throwaway comedy is better than most writers at their best. And Uncle's Dream, despite being dismissed by critics when it was published, is actually brilliant. A sharp, hilarious satire of small-town Russian society, class ambitions, and the ridiculous games people play. This is Dostoevsky being funny. Deliberately, wickedly funny, and it's a delight. So let's enter the gossipy, petty, absurd world of Mordasov, a provincial town where everyone knows everyone's business, where social status is everything, and where one scheming woman is about to attempt the con of a lifetime. Part 1. Welcome to Mordasov, a town of gossips. Picture a small Russian provincial town. Not the glamorous capital of St. Petersburg, not cosmopolitan Moscow, just Mordasov, a backwater where nothing ever happens and everyone knows everything about everyone. The social hierarchy is rigid. A few wealthy families at the top, a middle class of minor officials and merchants, and at the bottom, the poor and the servants. Everyone knows their place, and everyone is obsessed with maintaining or improving that place. And ruling over this petty kingdom is Mariya Aleksandrovna Moskaleeva. Mariya is the queen bee of Mordasov. She's not the wealthiest, she's not the most aristocratic, but she is the most cunning, the most manipulative, the most ruthless. She controls the town through gossip, strategic alliances, and sheer force of personality. Dostoevsky describes her with a mix of admiration and horror. She's brilliant at social manipulation. She knows exactly who to flatter, who to freeze out, who to befriend, who to destroy. She hosts the best gatherings. She sets the social standards. And if you cross her, you're finished in Mordasov society. Her husband, Afanasy, has been conveniently exiled to their country estate, officially because he's incompetent, which he is, but really because Mariya wants full control. With him out of the way, she runs the show. Living with Mariya is her daughter Zinaida, 23 years old. Beautiful, educated, cultured. By all rights, Zinaida should have married years ago. But there's a problem. She's too good for Mordasov. All the eligible men in town are beneath her. Boring officials, dull merchants, provincial nobodies. Zinaida dreams of something more: love, passion, meaning. She's a romantic, and Mordasov has no room for romance. There was one man she truly loved, a poor district school teacher. They wanted to marry, but Mariya crushed that immediately. A school teacher with no money, no connections, no social standing. Absolutely not. So Zinaida remains unmarried, bored, trapped in this provincial nightmare with her scheming mother. And then one day, everything changes. Prince K arrives in Mordasov. Part 2. The Prince, a dead man on Springs. Prince K is a wealthy landowner who spent years abroad, and in St. Petersburg society, he's old, very old, and rumor has it he's suffering from senile dementia. He arrives in Mordasov at his estate, accompanied by his distant relative and companion, Pavel Alexandrovich Mozgolyakov. Let's call him Pavel. And the moment Prince K appears in public, the entire town is buzzing. Because Prince K is, well, he's a spectacle. He's ancient, frail, clearly not all there mentally. But he's vain beyond belief. He wears elaborate makeup to hide his wrinkles. He has a wig, an obvious, ridiculous wig. He dresses in outdated fashions from his youth, trying desperately to look like the dashing aristocrat he once was. The result? He looks exactly like what one character describes: a dead man on springs. An animated corpse, propped up and paraded around. But here's the crucial detail: Prince K is rich. Very, very rich, and he's unmarried. The moment Mariya Aleksandrovna hears this, her mind starts racing. An idea forms, brilliant, audacious, completely outrageous. What if Zinaida married Prince K? Yes, he's ancient. Yes, he's senile. Yes, it's absurd, but think about the advantages. Zinaida would become a princess. She'd have wealth, status, freedom. And given the prince's age and mental state, he probably won't live long. Zinaida could be a wealthy young widow, free to live her life however she wants. It's perfect. All Mariya has to do is pull it off. Part 3. The scheme. Mariya's master plan. Mariya moves quickly. She needs to get Prince K into her house, isolate him from Pavel, who might interfere, and convince him to propose to Zinaida before anyone else in town realizes what's happening. First, she uses her social connections. She spreads rumors, makes strategic visits, plants seeds. By the time Prince K arrives at her home, it feels inevitable, natural. When the prince shows up, Mariya is the perfect hostess, charming, flattering, attentive. She plies him with drinks. Not too much, just enough to loosen his already questionable grip on reality. And then she deploys her secret weapon. Zinaida, despite her reluctance, plays her part beautifully. She sings for the prince. Her voice is lovely, and the old man is enchanted. She's gracious, elegant, exactly the kind of refined young woman a vain old aristocrat would want to be associated with. Mariya works on Prince K subtly, carefully. She hints that Zinaida has many suitors, that she's much sought after, that any man would be lucky to win her hand. And then at just the right moment, when the prince is relaxed, half-drunk, basking in Zinaida's attention, Mariya makes her move. She suggests ever so delicately that perhaps the prince himself might consider, well, it would be such an honor, of course, if someone of his stature. And Zinaida is such an exceptional girl. The prince in his befuddled state barely understands what's happening, but he's flattered. He's enjoying himself. And in that moment, he agrees. Yes, he'll marry Zinaida. Mariya can barely contain her triumph. It worked. Against all odds, she's pulled it off. Her daughter is going to be a princess. But there's one problem. Pavel, the complication Pavel Alexandrovich Mahazgliakov, is Prince K's traveling companion and distant relative. He's young, arrogant, entitled, basically the worst kind of provincial nobleman, and he's been pursuing Zinaida for months. Not out of love, really. More out of entitlement. Zinaida is beautiful, accomplished, the catch of Mordasov. Pavel assumes she'll eventually accept him because, well, who else is she going to marry? But Zinaida openly despises him. She's polite when necessary, but she makes it clear she's not interested. When Pavel hears that Prince K has agreed to marry Zinaida, he's furious. Not because he's heartbroken, but because he's been humiliated. How dare she reject him and then accept a senile old man? Pavel confronts Zinaida, accusing her of leading him on, of being a gold digger, of manipulating his uncle, hence the title everyone calls Prince K. Uncle, even though the family connection is distant. Zinaida, in a fantastic scene, tears into Pavel. She denies leading him on, points out that she never gave him any encouragement, and essentially tells him to get lost. But here's the twist. Later, privately, Zinaida admits she did sort of lead Pavel on. Not maliciously, but out of boredom. She had no other options in Mordasov, so she allowed his attention. It was cruel, and she knows it. This echoes White Knights in a way. Zinaida, like Nastenka, has been using someone for emotional comfort while waiting for something better. But Pavel isn't done. He's been humiliated and he wants revenge, so he hatches a plan of his own. Part 5. The morning after was just a dream. The night of the proposal, Prince K is surrounded by people, plied with drinks, overwhelmed by attention. In that state, he agrees to marry Zinaida. But the next morning, he barely remembers it. Pavel seizes this opportunity. He goes to the prince and gently suggests, "Uncle, you didn't actually propose last night, you dreamed it." And Prince K, confused, senile, unsure of what's real, believes him. Yes, of course, it was a dream. Just a dream. He dreamed he was going to marry that lovely girl. How silly. When Mariya discovers this, she's devastated. Her perfect plan is falling apart. She tries to convince the prince that no, it was real, he really did propose. But the prince is genuinely confused. Was it real? Was it a dream? He can't remember. The whole situation becomes farcical. The town, of course, has heard rumors of the engagement. Gossip spreads like wildfire. Everyone wants to know. Is it true? Did Zinaida really catch a prince? Mariya scrambles to control the narrative, but it's slipping through her fingers. Part 6. Zinaida's confession. A moment of truth in the midst of all this chaos and manipulation. Something unexpected happens. Zinaida, who has been going along with her mother's scheme reluctantly, decides to tell the truth. She goes to Prince K and confesses everything. Yes, her mother orchestrated this. Yes, it was a scheme. Yes, they were trying to manipulate him into marriage. It's a moment of genuine honesty in a story full of lies and social games. Zinaida could have kept up the charade, pushed harder, maybe even salvaged the engagement. But she chooses integrity instead. And Prince K, touched by her honesty and sincerity, does something beautiful. He tells her that it would be an honor, a genuine honor, to marry someone as honest and brave as she is. If she wants to marry him, he'll do it. Not because he was manipulated, but because he respects her. It's a stunning reversal. The con becomes real. The fake proposal transforms into a genuine offer. But here's the problem. Zinaida doesn't want it. She doesn't love Prince K. She doesn't want to marry a senile old man, even if it means wealth and status. She wants real love, real connection, real life. So she declines, gently, gratefully, but firmly. And with that, the entire scheme collapses. Part 7, the aftermath. Everyone loses. The fallout is swift and brutal. Prince K, shocked by all the drama and manipulation, dies 3 days later in his hotel room. The stress, the confusion, the humiliation, it's too much for his fragile health. Pavel, having gotten his revenge by ruining the engagement, leaves for St. Petersburg. He makes one last attempt to win Zinaida, but she rejects him again. He's learned nothing. And Mariya, she suffers the worst fate of all for someone like her, social humiliation. The entire town turns on her. All those people she manipulated, controlled, looked down on, they smell blood in the water. The gossip is vicious. How dare she try to trick the prince? How shameless, how calculating. Mariya, who ruled Mordasov through fear and manipulation, is suddenly a laughingstock. Her social empire crumbles overnight. She tries to fight back, to control the narrative, to reclaim her position. But it's too late. The damage is done. Zinaida? She remains unmarried, trapped in Mordasov, still bored and unfulfilled. She made the morally correct choice, but she didn't gain anything from it. She's back where she started, just with more scandal attached to her name. Nobody wins. The prince dies. Pavel learns nothing. Mariya loses everything. Zinaida is still trapped. It's a comedy, yes, but it's a dark comedy. Because Dostoevsky is showing us that in a society built on gossip, manipulation, and social climbing, everyone loses eventually. Part 8. The deeper meaning. What Dostoevsky is really saying. So why did Dostoevsky write this story? What's he really exploring beneath the comedy and satire? First, the emptiness of provincial life. Mordasov is hell, not the dramatic, existential hell Dostoevsky would explore in later works, but a mundane, suffocating hell, a place where nothing matters except what other people think, where your entire worth is determined by your position in a rigid social hierarchy. Everyone in Mordasov is playing games, social games, status games, gossip games. Nobody is authentic, nobody is free, they're all trapped in this provincial nightmare performing for each other. Dostoevsky, having spent years in Siberian exile in similarly small provincial towns, knew this world intimately, and he hated it. This story is his revenge, holding up a mirror to provincial Russian society and showing them how petty, how ridiculous, how empty it all is. Second, the cruelty of social ambition. Mariya is the villain, yes, but she's also kind of sympathetic, because what else can she do? She's a woman in 19th century Russia with limited options. She can't have a career, she can't achieve power directly. The only way for her to matter, to have influence, to protect herself and her daughter, is through social manipulation. So she's become brilliant at it, and ruthless. But the system that forces her to operate this way is the real villain. Mariya is both perpetrator and victim of the same oppressive social structure. In Zinaida, she's trapped too. She wants love, meaning purpose. But society tells her the only thing that matters is marrying well. Her education, her talents, her desires, none of it matters if she doesn't secure a good match. Dostoevsky is critiquing the marriage market, the way women are reduced to commodities, the way everyone's worth is measured in money and status. Third, the gap between appearance and reality. Prince K is the perfect symbol of this theme. He spends enormous effort trying to look young, vital, important. The makeup, the wig, the fancy clothes, all of it is performance. But underneath, he's a dying old man. The performance doesn't change the reality. The same is true for everyone in Mordasov. They're all performing, pretending to be more important, more virtuous, more sophisticated than they are. And when the performance fails, when reality intrudes, everything collapses. Fourth, the question of honesty. Zinaida's confession to Prince K is the most important moment in the story. It's the only moment of genuine honesty in a world of lies and manipulation. Zinaida tells the truth and loses everything. Dostoevsky is asking, is honesty worth it in a world built on deception? Should you play the game or refuse to play? Zinaida chooses honesty, and she ends up right back where she started, trapped, unmarried, stuck in Mordasov. Is that noble, or is it just naive? Dostoevsky doesn't give us an easy answer. Part 9. The context, Dostoevsky's comeback. We need to talk about when and why this story was written, because it's crucial to understanding it. In 1849, Dostoevsky was arrested for political activities. He was sentenced to death. He stood before a firing squad. At the last second, his sentence was commuted to hard labor. He spent 4 years in a Siberian prison camp, one of the most brutal experiences imaginable. Then, 4 more years of compulsory military service in remote Siberian towns. By the time he returned to European Russia in 1859, he'd been gone for 10 years. The literary world had moved on. New writers had emerged. Dostoevsky was yesterday's news, if anyone even remembered him at all, and he was broke. Desperately broke. He needed money immediately. So he wrote Uncle's Dream quickly, hoping it would reestablish his reputation and earn him some cash. It didn't really work. Critics dismissed it as lightweight. Readers were indifferent. It wasn't the triumphant comeback he'd hoped for. But here's the fascinating part. Dostoevsky chose to write comedy after experiencing unimaginable suffering. He could have written about the prison camp. He would later in The House of the Dead. He could have written something dark and philosophical about suffering and redemption. Instead, he wrote satire. He mocked provincial society. He made people laugh. Why? Maybe because after 10 years of hell, he needed to prove he could still be light, playful, funny. Maybe he wanted to show he wasn't broken. Maybe it was pure financial calculation. Comedy sold better. Or maybe, and this is what I think, he was testing himself, seeing if he could still write it all, seeing if the craft was still there after 10 years of silence, and it was. Even this minor work shows flashes of Dostoevsky's genius, the psychological insight, the social critique, the complex characters. Uncle's dream was his warm-up, his way of getting back in the game before writing the masterpieces that would come next. Part 10. Why It Matters. The underrated gem Uncle's Dream is usually considered one of Dostoevsky's minor works. It's not taught in schools. It's not analyzed in depth. Most Dostoevsky fans haven't even read it, and that's a shame because it's actually quite brilliant. Yes, it's lighter than his major novels. Yes, the comedy can feel dated. Yes, Dostoevsky himself dismissed it as rushed and imperfect. But it's also wickedly funny, sharply observed, and surprisingly relevant. Because the world of Mordasov, that provincial nightmare of gossip, social climbing, and empty status games, still exists. We might not have elaborate social hierarchies based on aristocratic titles anymore, but we have social media where people perform perfect lives for an audience. We have influencer culture where appearance is everything and authenticity is rare. We have the constant pressure to project success, beauty, importance, even when reality tells a different story. Mariya Aleksandrovna would be brilliant at Instagram. She'd know exactly how to curate her image, manipulate her followers, maintain her position in the social hierarchy. Prince K would be that older rich guy desperately trying to look young, expensive cosmetic procedures, hair plugs, designer clothes, performing vitality while quietly falling apart. Pavel would be sliding into DM, feeling entitled to attention, lashing out when rejected. And Zinaida, she'd be someone genuinely interesting, genuinely talented, trapped in a world that only values her for her appearance and her ability to marry well. The specifics change, the human dynamics don't. Dostoevsky was satirizing his world, but he captured something universal about social competition, the performance of status, and the emptiness of lives built on what other people think. Part 11. The title, Why Uncle's Dream? Let's talk about the title for a moment because it's perfect. On the surface, it refers to Prince K's confused state. Did he propose or did he dream it? Was it real or imagined? But it works on multiple levels. It's Mariya's dream, the fantasy of transforming her daughter into a princess through one brilliant con. It's Zinaida's dream, the hope that somehow, despite the absurdity, she might escape Mordasov. It's Pavel's dream, the entitled fantasy that he deserves Zinaida and can humiliate her when she rejects him. It's Mordasov's dream, the collective fantasy that they matter, that their petty social hierarchies mean something. And ultimately, all of these dreams collapse. They're revealed to be illusions. Nothing was real. It was all performance, manipulation, self-deception. The only person who wakes up from the dream is Zinaida. She sees reality clearly, chooses honesty, and stays trapped anyway. That's the dark joke at the heart of the story. Waking up from the dream doesn't set you free. Sometimes it just makes you more aware of your prison. Closing, the comedy and the tragedy, so there you have it. Uncle's Dream, Dostoevsky's strange, funny, underappreciated comeback story. It's not Crime and Punishment. It's not The Brothers Karamazov. It doesn't plumb the depths of human suffering or soar to heights of spiritual redemption, but it is smart, sharp, and surprisingly insightful. It shows us Dostoevsky flexing different muscles, humor instead of darkness, satire instead of psychology, social critique instead of philosophical meditation. And it reminds us that even in his minor works, Dostoevsky saw things other writers missed, the games people play, the masks they wear. The gap between who they pretend to be and who they really are. Mordasov is every small town where everyone knows everyone's business. Mariya is every social climber who mistakes manipulation for power, Prince K. Is every person desperately performing youth and vitality while decay creeps in. Zinaida is every person trapped between honesty and survival. And the dream is the lie we tell ourselves. That status matters, that appearances are real, that the games we play mean something. Dostoevsky, fresh from Siberian hell, looked at provincial Russian society and laughed. But it was a bitter laugh, because he saw the tragedy beneath the comedy. Everyone in this story is trapped, and the only way out is honesty, which doesn't actually free you. It just makes you more aware of your cage. That's the joke, and it's not really funny at all, but it's brilliantly, darkly, devastatingly true. Thanks for joining me in Mordasov. Until next time, remember, we're all performing. The question is, are we brave enough to stop?